So here are some of the key players in negative repressible mode of regulation of transcription. Negative control means that the regulator protein acts as the repressor of transcription by binding to the DNA operator, preventing the RNA polymerase from connecting and transcribing. Repressible control is when the transcription factor is normally on, but then is turned off when a small molecule is present to bind to the regulator protein, which creates a complex that can bind and block the RNA polymerase from transcribing from the operator. So negative repressible means that in the presence of a small effector molecule, the regulator protein becomes the activated repressor, which prevents transcription. Some of the other key players are the promoter region, which is like a landing pad for the RNA polymerase to start transcription, the regulator, which codes for the regulator protein, the operator, which is the binding site for the regulator protein complex in this situation, and the operon, which is a segment of DNA containing controlling regulatory and structural genes. Now that we looked at all the key players and the definitions of some of the terms, we can now look at an example to explain how this really works. So let's look at an example when there is an absence of the small effector molecule. So everyone knows Squidward hates SpongeBob and Patrick, but he can normally still go about his day if SpongeBob is by himself. That is the situation we are looking at here, because Patrick represents the small effector molecule. Squidward here represents the RNA polymerase, and Squidward going about his day represents transcription. SpongeBob represents the inactivated repressor here, because Patrick is not present. So because Patrick is not present, SpongeBob is an inactivated repressor. So when he tries to run and say, "Hey, Squidward," and ruin Squidward's day, he is basically just ignored, because he's not able to bind to the operator, which allows Squidward to bind to the promoter and continue transcription. Here, the proteins transcribed are canned bread, because that's Squidward's favorite. So now let's look at when there is a presence of the small effector molecule. Squidward finds SpongeBob hardly tolerable on his own, so when SpongeBob and Patrick are together, it annoys him so much that it represses him from doing his work. So as before, from the regulator becomes the regulator protein, the repressor here, which is SpongeBob. Now, Patrick is here, the small effector molecule, which spells trouble for Squidward. So Patrick and SpongeBob form a complex, which now makes SpongeBob an active repressor. So this time, Patrick and SpongeBob together go, "Hey, Squidward," and are able to bind to the operator, which blocks Squidward from being able to transcript, because he's like, "I'm not dealing with this, I'm gonna head out." So he leaves, and transcription is turned off, and he does not get his canned bread. So sad ending of the story for Squidward, but I guess that's just the way it has to be.